Hello and welcome to my channel, everybody. I'm Steph and this is Books with Steph. So a few days ago I watched a video by Harriet Rosie, I'll link her channel up there, and she was talking about her non-fiction November to be read list. And I'd totally forgotten about this, and so I was really happy that she reminded me that actually November is a really good time to dedicate to reading non-fiction books, which I love doing anyway, but it's kind of a really good idea, I think, to just set aside an entire month where I very consciously try to read more non-fiction than normal. And so this is my TBR pile for non-fiction November. And so I've never actually done this before, but so I believe every year there are some prompts to help you pick which books you want to read. And so this year there are 4 pairs of prompts that kind of all sound somewhat similar. And so I decided to pick 4 books for these 4 prompts. And the first one is pastime or pastime. For that prompt I picked Hidden Figures, which I don't currently own yet, but I will be ordering soon. And I actually must admit I actually already started reading this and I'm about halfway through and really enjoyed it. I watched the film twice now, I think, and both times felt that it was such an important film, such an important part of history that unfortunately we don't tend to learn a lot about. So if you don't know it, it's the story of the calculators, or the computers rather, at NASA, particularly the black women working at NASA as computers who were calculating the trajectories of the rockets to the moon, which obviously is a kind of important part to do, you know, making sure that the rocket doesn't, I don't know, go somewhere completely random. And so this was a job that in the 1950s and 60s was done by people. Actual people would be known as the computers. And the book follows, I think, 3 main characters that are the same characters in the film, which unfortunately I forgot their names now. One of them is Katherine Johnson, which I'm also talking a little bit about in an upcoming video about female scientists. And so the struggles that these women are facing are not only that they are women and hence can't really be engineers, because clearly engineers are only male, right? No. But also that they are black women. So there is this whole thing of the institutionalized racism, the sexism, and the entire history of women's rights, of the rights of people of color in America. And it's just really fascinating to me. I absolutely loved everything about this book. And so unfortunately, I think I borrowed it off my local library and I had to return it. And so I'm only about halfway through, but I really want to make sure that in November I'll actually finish this. And I'll buy myself the book because I think this is an important enough book that I should own a copy of it. The next prompt is shelf or self. And so for this prompt, I picked Life 3.0 by Max Tegmark, which I also talk about in my Geeky Books TBR. And this book, the reason why I picked this is because the kind of, I was going to say subtitle, but it's above the title, so the super title, I don't know, is Being Human in the Age of Artificial Intelligence. So how that made me think about self was that it kind of questions what it means to be human, like self, what is our self? When we look at a world in which artificial intelligence has a large role to play, as we're starting to see now, where we have self-driving cars, where we have, you know, somewhat intelligent machines. And I just find this a really fascinating question in terms of what is it that makes us human as opposed to a machine, as opposed to an artificial intelligence. So that one seemed to me like a kind of, you know, self-exploration in a sense, like the self of humanity. What does that mean when we look at artificial intelligence? So that is the one for self, not so much for shelf. Although it was on my bookshelf, so I guess that counts. The next prompt is wonder or wonder, which I kind of say the same way, I guess, but the one being wandering, like walking around, and the other one being, oh, I wonder. So these 2 words. And I decided for that one to actually pick a book in German that I got for my birthday, which is London Calling, als Deutsche auf der Brexit-Insel, which translates to, well, London Calling, as a German person on Brexit Island. And so this is the story of this lady here. So it's kind of like her memoir, or her, yeah, I guess a memoir, where she's talking about what it's like to be a journalist from a German news agency living in Britain post-Brexit referendum. And given that I myself was living in Britain for 12 years and decided to leave because of the Brexit referendum in some sense, it's really kind of interesting to me to know what someone else goes through there, what her experiences are, what she found, like, what kind of changes she observed in society, and how she felt as a German person like myself living on Brexit Island, as I did for quite some time. And in some way, actually, I think this is also helping me to kind of get over my missing England, because I do still really miss it quite a lot. I particularly actually miss London, which is very strange because I actually only lived there for 2.5 years quite a while ago. But so I actually already started reading this. I got this book from my mother-in-law for my birthday. Thank you. And I'm not very far into it. I'm about 40 pages into it. And when I picked it up first, when I read the first few pages, I actually started crying because it was reminding me so much of the kind of typical British things that are just not really to be found in Germany. So the reason why I picked this for wander, as in wandering, walking around, being kind of a stranger in a foreign land in a sense, that's kind of what my thought process was for picking this one for that prompt. And the last prompt is micro and macro. And for this one, I picked another book that I got for my birthday, this one from my husband, and it is The Cloudspotter's Guide, The Science, History and Culture of Clouds. And again, sorry, I already started reading this a little bit, though I'm not very far into it, maybe, I don't know, maybe 10 pages or something. I don't even have a bookmark in there, I don't think. So I don't even know how far into it I am. I'll probably just start it again. And so yes, this one is a book, obviously, about clouds and the science of clouds and why we love clouds, why everybody loves looking up at clouds. And the reason why I picked this for micro and macro is that, sorry, me being a scientist, I kind of looked at it as, well, so micro, obviously you have all the microscopic particles that make up the clouds, all the tiny particles of the gaseous water, as in the water vapor, and all the dust particles and the things that settle on there in order to form that cloud. So that's where the micro part is. But then also I was thinking, well, yeah, but clouds are quite big. I mean, if you look at like hurricanes, for example, these are clouds, but they're absolutely ginormous systems of clouds. So even though clouds form from very minute and microscopic entities, they are actually quite big, quite macroscopic systems when it comes to it. I just thought it was kind of funny that it follows both, or it fulfills both the micro and the macro side of this. So I absolutely love this. As I said, I already started reading it a little bit, and I just love the kind of self-deprecating style of the author in a sense. I don't know, that's maybe not quite the right word, but because it is the kind of thing where we all see clouds all the time, and most of the time we don't really care that much about it. But I absolutely love looking outside, looking at the sky, which honestly today I don't want to look up because it's just grey and miserable outside. But I just find it really fascinating, and so I find it kind of amusing that there is a book about the Cloud Appreciation Society and people who also like to look up at the sky and go, oh yeah, there's a cloud, there's a such and such cloud and a such and such cloud, which I actually don't know the names of, so I'm really curious about learning these names for the different styles of clouds and types of clouds. And it just really amuses me because it seems like such an everyday thing. Obviously clouds are pretty everyday, but I still get really, really excited about them. So I'm kind of amused about myself, and then also amused about the fact that apparently there are other people who are equally amused by clouds and equally amazed by their structure and their movements and all that they actually form this Cloud Appreciation Society, which is a kind of, I mean, it's a real society. I'm not entirely sure how serious they take themselves. Definitely the author, who is the founder of the society, doesn't seem to be taking himself too serious. So it's really, really nice read. It's kind of really, really amusing and really funny from the first few pages that I have read of it, and I'm really, really looking forward to learning more about this. So these are the 4 books that I picked for the prompts for the non-fiction November TBR. And I'm really, really excited about reading this. I'm really glad that I'm filming this quite late in October so that I can actually start jumping into these books quite soon. And also, in Germany, the 1st of November is actually a public holiday, so I'll be off work on the 1st, and then I decided to take the 2nd because it's a Friday off as well. So I'm going to have 4 days of probably just reading at the very beginning of November. So let's see, maybe I might already finish one of the books by the end of the first week of November. Who knows? All right, until next time. Bye!